Hi, my name is Mr.BlackBear. Okay, so here's the deal. I didn't explain this project very well, very poorly. I've explained it very, very poorly to the point where I don't think you could follow along, but you know what's even worse? I didn't even tell you what I used. So, I'm gonna take a moment while I have you here and just at least tell you what I used so that if you could follow along with anything I say in this video, you can. So starting off with the fabrics, going with the least used to the most used. I used, in terms of red, a Blizzard Fleece solid called Dark Burgundy. Any dark red is, preferable, but really, it's not really worth getting a new whole thing of fabric for. I just luckily didn't have to, because I had bought this stuff a really long time ago, wanting to do a different project, but I never got to it. So, any red will do, but that's the color I used. In terms of the second least used color, now there's some context missing here, but in terms of the internal organ sac, I used a stretchy material known as Good Nature Double Brush Poly Spandex. A mouthful, I know. The color is Olive Pan. This one, when you look at these next two colors, this color and the next one, I had to look up on the Joann's website. By the way, you can find all these at Joann's. Yeah, I found these two fabrics on the online store. And the way that this fabric, the Good Nature Double Brush Spandex Olive Pan color, it's only labeled as Double Brush Poly Spandex and not Good Nature Double Brush Poly Spandex. Because when I go to the store, I found a white that was pretty much the same thing. A Good Nature Double Brush Poly Spandex. I bought it in the store. My receipt said it. Thus, I wrote it down like that onto my little sample page here. And I bought this little bit of fabric. The thing is, when I bought these two, you have to buy 2 yards in total. You don't need that much. If you happen to find this at the store, I more recommend doing that. In terms of the most used fabric, this is the whole body. The whole body is using a anti-pill plush fleece, as usual. It's in the color Peridot. Now, this, I didn't use a full yard because this isn't a big doll, but it will take a lot of that 1 yard. So like I said, I still recommend not getting these 3 colors if you're doing this project, on the store. I don't know if they could sell you a 10 by 2 inch piece of red, but if they can, maybe go for it. But I just recommend maybe either half a yard, a foot maybe, because you're not going to need that much. Honestly, you're not going to need much. You're not going to need much. Anyway, that's enough of the fabrics. In terms of the threads that I've used, I used a spring green thread. As you see, I'm not showing it at the moment because I ran out while doing this. So I used black thread, but I used it strategically. There's a point of this video where I use a ladder stitch, or the invisible stitch, to stitch up a part, and I used black because I knew it wouldn't show. But for the majority of the body, literally I think the bare buttocks of this thing I used black, but the whole body was in the spring green thread. You can also find that at Joann's. without further ado, with that all out of the way, you may continue with your featured presentation. So I know why you came. I know why you're here. You wish to see it. You wish to see them. So without even going into anything, I'll show you. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I've done it. I have made it. I've created it. What's this, you may ask? This is a bug. Not just any bug. It is a pill bug, a roly-poly, or as I like to call it, a friend. Now, this little friend of ours has other friends. I've made a lot of friends while we were gone. To the real reason why some of you are here, it's a surprise, I got you. You are now to be seeing my little other creations I make. I got it. I snuck it right under your nose. Now, I have made carnivorous plants in the past. A bit of a shock, yeah. This one was made out of just the passion to make something inside a vase. Kind of a statue, a decoration, not really something to play with, not something to really manhandle and accidentally rip apart. This is a figure, a statue, a craft. So, during my times, I said something along the lines of how big or how small can I make them, because I saw there were many varieties of vases. And true to form, I bought the biggest one, and I had to think, what do I make next? So, without further ado, let me show you what I have been working on for a little bit. Not as long as I had, it's just that there was a lot of complications. So I went the lazy route, and I gave at least 80% of my efforts to make this. So the design may be bland, but the design was always going to be bland. That's just my style. So, let me show you. Who am I? There we go. Now, this behemoth of a plant is a pitcher plant. I even bought a giant vase for it. Ugh. This is, that vase over there, first off, is a 8-inch vase in diameter. So this is a 10-inch vase in diameter, and it shows. This is a pretty lengthy, not lengthy, pretty huge vase. It's actually pretty heavy. Like, the doll itself is not heavy, it's the vase. So I'm just gonna, while I show you her, I'm just gonna take off the vase. There you go. It's still got the little tiny legs just like the other one. And still is bulky and, well, bulky. Even Mr. Bones back here. Let's see. This creation here still had the same amount of love as any of my other creations, because it is something that's new, something that I have to think about, and thus I have to really think about how I go about making them. Just like my little friends here, this little friend of ours had love in every stitch. So, without further ado, let me show you how I made this thing.
To give you an idea of the size difference between the two plant ladies, these are just the legs. while I was creating the pattern, I had to stitch together a few pages of paper. So they kind of look like a Frankenstein's creation here. And thus I bought one of these. This is a roll of paper for any future patterns I ever have to make. I have the body. Pretty much everything is cut out. Got the legs, got the body. It doesn't have a head, and I have the arms. So, okay. Next course of action is going to be the arms and legs, because those I can't possibly mess up, because the torso here is going to be the most complicated. So here's the stomach. It's going to be like a sack. It is cut out of a piece of paper, so that's why it's kind of angular like that. But it's going to be cut out with this material, the stretchy material that I'm using, because fleece ain't stretchy, or at least not that much. I have to cut the front, at least up to here, and that's going to be the opening, the pitcher plant rim. But I'm just hoping I don't mess this up. That's the truth of that. So wish me luck. So as the process goes, I sew, I stuff, and once I had all 4 limbs and the body, I then put them all together, and that's what that looks like. So after putting in the stomach sack, I then took a wire and kind of measured it out by just making the shape of the opening. I then took that wire to kind of try to make the rim of the pitcher plant by literally burrito rolling it into a red piece of fabric and putting it right on. To get that teeny little leaf part that most pitcher plants have on top of them, I took 2 sheets of fabric that were in the shape of a leaf, sewed it together. I kind of sewed it in the middle, but I recommend using a sewing machine for this, and I put it right on the stem neck thing. And somewhere in between, these also receive some ahtas. And we've come to the part of the show where I somehow make myself look worse. So I had to get a little creative on this one. On Instagram, I showed off a very blue girl, and her chest was more fused as one piece as opposed to being 2 pieces. So the idea is not to shape a flat piece of fabric, but to make a dome out of multiple pieces and then put it on the place of interest, so to speak. But tragedy struck as I ran out of cotton, so I had to go out and get some more. Through the mail. Once the cotton was obtained, pieces were in place. Everything was stuffed and sewn right up. Bada bing, bada boom. You got a whole lot of grass. As for that flower pot, I kind of wanted to make something similar to how a real pitcher plant looks, but I ultimately scrapped the idea. I even made some little cuddly friends. Think of these as the side dishes to this whole entire ordeal. In more ways than one. I never ended up making the grub though.
And there you have it. That's how I made my creepy, crawly creatures of the night and my flirtatious plantation. It could have been a lot worse. And I don't think I'll ever put her back into that vase. I will spray paint it black, and then I will do some cool designs. I bought some of these oil-based paint pens, markers from Craft Smart. I may do something with that. I've already been experimenting. I made some of the bottles I spray painted a while back. I think it looks alright. Either way. And, when I'm done, maybe I'll stop making such strange design creatures that will only impress probably just me, and make something that will impress you. for next time, we'll meet under the stars. Because I feel an alien invasion coming. But either way, all this, just letting me know, is for practice, practice, practice. If I'm not the one who's going to be making these things, who will? Stay tuned and have a good night.